Hey, everybody, I'm Sean Robinson.
I'm Carson Grubaugh. Welcome to Living the Line. Sean, you've brought us a very cool book today.
Yeah, so man, do I love living in 2022 where you can buy some of your favorite manga that used to be these obscure little releases that you would pay, a zillion dollars for, and they'd be really grimy and, you'd have to go get them in person in a basement. And now you can just pop on to Abe Books and find a beautiful copy of this Battle Angel Alita, Volume 1, although this is actually Volume 1 and 2
Yeah.
combined into one edition. And boy, oh boy, does this look better than the Viz editions I grew up with.
So this is something you were reading as a youngster.
Yeah, probably too young, frankly. It's pretty. I mean, it's. I don't know what your tolerance is for this type of stuff, but like it's fairly heinous in terms of, violence and things like that. I remember this was a one of those things that my friends and I sort of passed around. Everybody had a copy of it, and if I'm not mistaken, with the first time that I ever encountered it was there was an OVA that made like a direct to video animation that was an adaptation of just the first volume. I think that I watched that with some friends at age 15 or whatever, and then picked up the individual issues and then later volumes after that. Yeah, and it's really holds up pretty damn well. I mean, I'm not as horrified by it now, the violence and things like that, but as far as a compelling story and compelling designs and amazing drawing, holds up quite well. So you have never read this before?
I remember seeing it. I'm pretty sure I saw like pictures of it in Wizard magazine. I think I definitely
Oh,
know
okay.
other kids at school were talking about it. Like there's one image I tagged in there. We'll start flipping through the
Yeah,
book.
let's do it.
There's one image I tagged in there. I forget exactly where it's at, but it was like the image I'd seen. I'm pretty familiar with the thing. The first time it's this image right here.
Yeah, this is the
Um,
cover. This was the cover of the original Viz Volume 1. And I think that is a really compelling, image, and that sort of sticks with you through the entirety of the series.
yeah, no, that's why I wrote. Like, I've never read this, but I know this image very, very well. And then I did see the Robert Rodriguez movie version of this.
Hmm.
And so when I was reading it, I was like, oh, this is all very familiar. Like, God, that movie was one of those ones that's almost too too literal to the material right out the gate. But this first volume did feel familiar to me, but it was nice to see it in the actual art because he is an amazing artist.
Well, yeah, when we talked to our pal Nick Pitara about his series Axe Wielder John, and he gave me that hard soft explanation for the design. This is why I immediately thought of Yukito Kishiro, because I think that Alita's design is a fantastic example of that hard soft. From the first time that you see her, that she's some type of synthetic being, even though it turns out from the first panel she has a human brain, and she
She's
obviously
hanging
has
out with Jay Leno, skinny Jay Leno.
She's got this soft face, but as you find out fairly quickly, she's a killing machine of some type, and she's got this like special robot kung fu trained into her at some point.
Yeah, like she obviously the human brain was some type of military expert or something. I haven't finished reading all of them, but she has some history in the human brain that has amnesia or something.
Right.
And I assume when I go into later volumes, because I went ahead, it was like almost easier and cheaper to just grab the box set than to go get them all individually. So I just got it all in the box set. So I'll be curious to see how that plays out because I've only read the first two hardcover collections.
Well, he clearly had planned the majority of the story from the very beginning, another fairly rare thing for a mangaka. But this ran, I believe, twice a month. So not quite the brutality of the weekly schedule. And you can see some of that reflected in the art.
Yeah.
He was so young. I mean, it's really stunning to realize this is like a 23-year-old or a 24-year-old putting
And
together this art.
it looks like not many assistants, or if they did, like it looks like his hand applied on everything. It's a pretty consistent kind of feel throughout.
Yeah, no, he definitely had assistants, and you know, people that did tone and stuff like that. And in fact, you know, he is kind of candid in the extras. After the first couple volumes, he sort of had some type of personal crisis that he doesn't really go into, but he fired all his assistants and stopped working for a while. And then when he comes back, he finished the series with nobody assisting at all. And
Oh wow.
you can see the shift and the sort of story that he did to resuscitate himself out of this like month-long, you know, months of funk, has a much different look to it. And you and I are probably going to, even if we don't read the other Alita volumes, you and I are really going to have to talk about his resuscitation, and we'll have to read the Motorball story.
Okay.
I believe it's called Motorball Diaries in English.
Okay. So with the story, and I remember this from the movie too, and I wish he would have drawn this opening kind of chapter out longer. I found it very compelling, and sorry, spoilers here, but I found it very compelling that there's this suggestion that the doctor is the serial killer who's going
Right.
around killing robots to get her parts, and then she kind of realizes that, and he's like, no, I'm buying them from somebody. But very quickly you realize that what he's saying is the truth, and I kind of like the tension of that early part of the book. And I mean, it's only by page 25 that you realize he's telling the truth. And I think that could have been played out longer. Also, this image here and a couple other times, we were just looking at, what else were we just looking at? This same technique. And I said it really reminded me of Shiro's work. I
Gundam.
think, yeah, Gundam. I think this was just the standard technique, because I'm noticing a lot with these people falling with the blurry shadows behind them.
Right.
I'd be curious to see where that started, because I've noticed it 3 times now, and he does it a couple times in here, and I really like it. I really like that effect of
maybe an Otomo
nice
influence.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously the art is definitely, this is post Akira. I'm
Although
assuming.
not radically so. I mean, this is like 86 or 87, is it, or is it 89? The original publication.
And
but
here's
you get
Moebius.
Yeah, that's great. What a great sculpture too.
Yeah. So it seems like in that same era, like he's looking at Otomo, everybody's looking at Moebius.
And you know, his contemporary, the gentleman from Berserk, you know, they definitely seem like mutual influences, especially with some of the extreme facial expressions and like the teeth gritting. And some of the villain designs and stuff. If you like, yeah, if you like Berserk, I mean, I think that this is, you know, would be right up your alley.
When we were talking to Matt about Lone Wolf and Cub, he was saying Otomo won out, Akira won out. Like this looks like the step between Akira winning out and a lot of the stuff that I don't like. A lot of the designs and stuff in here start to look like some of the manga I don't like. He keeps it like gritty and grimy and responsive, but I did almost see the art in here as like the in-between point.
Yeah, like
some of the more modern stuff.
Sure, like Kia Asayama would be somebody who pushes that even further. And yeah, that's
what did that artist do?
We talked a little bit about him before. He was what's his big 80s series? I've forgotten the name of it. Steam something or other.
Oh.
But he actually did X-Men for a couple months too.
Oh yeah. I know who you're talking about. No, but I'm thinking about more like I don't know, because I don't read that stuff, but where it's just a little stiff and the designs look kind of goofy. Some of the faces in here, like in the second hardcover, there's a dude that wears like a beanie, and I really don't like the way he draws that guy's face. when you're in the roller racing stuff.
Kia Asamiya Silent Mobius.
Okay, I'll have to look that up.
Silent Mobius, and then Gunhead, and then Dark Angel is the thing that has a lot of reference to this. And then
I guess
Steam
I'm
Detectives.
thinking like Trigun. Like Trigun would be a good example of where this moves from. This is like in between Trigun and Akira. I don't know when Trigun came out, but that's where I kind of get off board with a lot of the manga style, is in the Trigun type of look. Or Hellsing. Hellsing is another one that Dark Horse is doing like these big hardcovers of, and I don't like the art. This feels like an in-between of that. Also,
How about I noticed this color here.
Yeah, these are great. And also Trencher, the one-arm person flinging themselves through.
Yeah, this design of this villain is just so hideous, absolutely hideous. He steals people's bodies, and you later find that he's like this, basically this worm thing, can just burrow right into him.
Well, and he eats brains for their endorphins, like he's eating the endorphins out of the brains.
Endorphin junkie.
I'm calling out Keith Giffen. Keith Giffen, you stole the one arm flinging. He stole that panel. But yeah, this monster is gnarly, and I like that as like he's the main villain throughout the first book.
So if you I'm always harping about publishers keeping their assets. If you want to see what it's like to have modern publication print abilities and print standards and paper and everything applied to historic negatives, take a look at this and compare it to earlier printing. So this is done directly from the negative. Nothing was reshot. They just scanned it directly from the negative and they kept them around, and it looks fantastic.
Yeah, it looks amazing. And the shiny paper, I think, actually, like with this more sleek kind of sci-fi. I know you and I tend to prefer non-coated papers, but I really like this, like, because the black is so high contrast. It's
jet black.
Sexy.
Yeah, super sexy. And yeah, this guy here.
Look at this with the like pig hog thing sticking off his gut.
This has got a sort of Fist of the North Star, like anything goes, kind of aspect to it here. This hog, can give him directions during his combat.
Yeah, some of these designs are a little much for me. I think I like his design work better as he goes. How do you know how old he was when he was doing this?
Yeah, like I said, like 23 or 24 when he debuted.
Okay, so he definitely matures. I think the designs get better. The Alita design is obviously great. So she initially had like a nice sexy body because the weird doctors kind of thinks of her as a daughter and is crushing on her, but then she realizes she's not so great, and so they go get her this like badass combat body,
right?
And then she can combine that. That's a cool drawing right there.
Yeah, so he's taken over the head, he's taken over the body of this champion of this combat sport, and now he's just basically an insane person
with these crazy blade fingers.
Yeah,
eating brains.
Ugh. You can see why this was like too extreme for me at the time, when I was a young person.
Yeah, I don't know how I would have felt about this. I probably would have just liked it.
We talked before about my kids reading the comics that I read. They have never seen this, and they are not going to until they ask me. So some things are very, very different. I love that they actually keep the color inserts, because you really get an idea of how fantastic the color pages are.
I think that's becoming more popular now, thank goodness, because I mean, these really are like, you kind of always have to, like, you look at the Otomo Akira color inserts, you look at just, other ones where people are doing this kind of thing, and you're like, God, wouldn't it be so cool to like go the European route and have one of these guys do a book all the way through like this. Right. I mean, they'd never get it done, but they're so cool looking. I mean, I love the black and white as well, but they're really
his fantasy there, this guy's fantasy of torturing her is just really heinous.
Like hanging her on a necklace.
Yeah.
That's right after the color pages, right?
It should be said that the Viz translation is much superior to this one. Um, this is a much more literal translation than the original translation. It's, you know, humanized the characters a lot more.
Oh, that's unfortunate because this looks way better, I'm assuming.
Yeah, no, this is, yeah, stunning, and then the original printing was not.
Here's a cool trick I like: the 3 eyes to make her head move.
Oh yeah, it is a cool one.
And this is like very Akira, like concrete post melting and breaking up type of image here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So I'm just very interested in those kind of like stylistic things. Another one that I saw, I don't know, I have a tag somewhere. I'll point it out when we get there. Oh, like this kind of thing right here. The guy that I think his name's Sutomo Nihai that
okay.
does Blame. I don't know if you've seen that, but there's
No.
a lot of like these type of pipes and stuff that come out of Akira, and then the way that Kishiro draws them is like the rough and dirty version, and then you see
Mm.
that taken to the next level in, I think it's called Blame by Tsutomu Nihai. There's some other things where they're just walking up these big pipes that, like, he has books, whole books where it's like people wandering around on big pipe systems. I don't know what I was looking at here.
The close up of the pig belt.
Oh no, just that he was explaining unleash a plasma jet, and then like they have to like explain that down at the bottom. I don't know. I thought I do think all of the little like Shiro does that too. Like let me explain you like what a plasma jet is and what a magneto hydrodynamic propulsion, you know, to try and like
Right.
justify their mechanics as something that would actually work. Oh, no. I see what it was that I was tagging. They're getting into this fight down there. I thought this was really funny. They're getting into a fight and he's like explaining what his plasma jet is. And then she basically kicks his ass. And then he was like, "Oh, I came down here the whole time because I planned it." But the way that the story's going, it doesn't make any sense that he brought her down there as a plan. But then this like this plasma propulsion jet that he has all of a sudden works into his favor in this fight in a way that doesn't make any sense. I don't know. I'd have to go reread it to explain it exactly. But there was some strange things down where they're fighting under the water where he was just making it up as he went.
Yeah, you can see some of the seams and the pressures of the serial production.
Yeah, here's his toilet birth, which is super disgusting.
Yeah, and then you get the real origin. It's just he's got the most heinous possible backstory.
My
And
mother gave birth to me in a toilet and flushed me down here with all this shit. Which is similar. Again, you're talking about Berserk. There's that. I don't know if you've read far enough into Berserk, but there's that like little baby creature that haunts Guts in Berserk, and it kind of has a similar origin to this, like the kid crawling around in the gutters.
yeah, it's really, it takes the central premise of the book is essentially that all of the rich people live up in the sky, and all of the poor people who serve them live down below. Everything that they make is harvested to go up to the people in the sky. And you really just take that to its most extreme when she's in the sewer fighting somebody who lived in the sewer as a kid. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
she's down as low as she can get. And in some ways, you can see the series as her ascending up this scale to Tafaris, the town in the sky.
Yeah, it seems like a very it like thematically it is pretty rich about social strata and ascension. And I mean, even though there's like werewolf pill, there's also, you know, like a more serious thematic behind it. Here's kind of a prototype Tsutomu Nihai blame type of image.
Hmm.
But again, you get that social stratification that you're talking about, and a real, like, God, what an amazing image.
Yeah, all that 3-point perspective there. Although he's made the building cylindrical so that you only have to indicate the downward. But yeah, that's just an incredible image, and you can see why you'd want to labor over it in terms of the rendering and everything. Also, love the use of black. You can see that he really knows how to spot them. Also, a fairly unusual thing, I think.
And by this point in the book, here's another one of those characters that I don't like. It's a little too oddly stylized in a modern way for me. Like,
oh, this guy,
yeah, that's where it starts to feel like the crossover from the type of manga I like to the stuff that I don't like. But at this point, you get really, they lean into that social ascension. She meets this, she's like defeated the big bad guy now and has met this kid, God, we've been talking for too long. She meets this kid who wants to get up here, up into the cloud, into the, what's it, Zalim.
Oh, right. They changed the name to Zalem. Yeah. So, sorry, the original translation had it as Tafaris, but yeah, they call it Zalem here. Yeah, which I think is the Japanese name originally.
Huh. And so, like, that I found like the most touching story, like where he's trying to get up and they run up, and like I'm pretty sure that was in the movie. I remember that, where they're like running up the big pipe and there's the blade coming down at them. And
yeah, so he's been told by this gangster that if he raises enough money, he can go to Zalem. And he's like, okay, well, what can I do for money? And so he works. He kills people, or not kills them, but maims people and takes their parts. He takes these robots' parts and sells them. But then he actually gets identified, and he's got a bounty on him. And so they're trying to take him because they will get money for him. And he's attacked by this bounty hunter, and Alita, who's fallen in love with him, wants to protect him. And at the same time, she doesn't want to be destroyed herself. And so you get... Good.
No, he finds out that like there is no way for him to, like, no matter how much money he raises, that the guy was just lying to him to get him to work.
Right.
And then also here gets totally mutilated. Gets his arm ripped off. And Alita protects him. So in his despair about not being able to actually go up there, I think it's actually runs into the next volume.
Right.
Where they actually try and go up. But he finds out that he can't. Yeah, it's into the next volume. He finds out that like there is no like pathway to success there with this $10,000 or whatever he's raising. So he takes off. And this is the other stuff that reminds me of Blame, but I also think it's beautiful imagery where he's like trying to climb, and this is that social status, like he's trying to climb the literal like pipeline to the higher social status
with this crippled robot body, this junky thing, and they can't do it because there's obviously defenses that prevent that from happening. These blades that whirl around it, and it's like it's the perfect metaphor. I mean, it might be blunt, but it's really quite amazing.
And if I'm correct, this is where the movie leaves off. I don't remember the movie well enough. Look at this fucking drawing too. So this is where it's like now that story has come to an end, and like Alita has gone missing, really, and the doctor guy is looking for her. But God, this is where his art really takes off for me in this second volume, where it's all this like roller derby girls of destruction stuff. The story's like, I don't know, it's got the social climbing aspect to it as well. Maybe not as interesting, but the visuals in this second hardcover, this is as far as I've read, but the visuals in this are amazing.
Yeah, and I would definitely recommend people pick it up. I know that the series has continued past the initial one, but all I've read is the initial run, and well worth it. And especially these first two collected volumes that are the first four books are quite interesting. This guy
Have you read
here,
the second one? You've read the
yes,
second one, right?
yep,
I like this American superhero drawing that he throws in
right.
there. It looks like Wildcats and Rob Liefeld type of patterns on the face and stuff.
Yeah, he's got a wide range of influence, um, and he really is not afraid to show it. And in fact, he even did a few Frank Miller swipes later, like
Oh,
actual
really?
swipes. Uh,
That's interesting.
Daredevil, Frank Miller Daredevil swipes, I think.
Interesting. I didn't catch those. Are those in
Oh yeah,
here?
no, in a later volume.
Okay. But to
Um,
me, this is where I really started enjoying his art when they're doing all these rollerball derbies, and he's really like locking into the speed lines and the action lines, and like this thing right here where she just zips to the side real quick. Um,
yeah,
I don't think there's much to talk about here in terms of story, but I really feel like this is where he fully hits his power as an artist.
you can tell how much fun that he's having in terms of planning out what the game is like, and what all the different strengths are of the different characters. And it has that very satisfying thing where she has to defeat different people to get up to different levels.
Yeah.
And so you'll meet one of them and you'll meet what their strength is, and she'll fight them, and then you'll meet another one and she has a game against them, and she's gradually assembling a team so that she can compete with the guy who is the actual champion. And you realize slowly that Ito, her doctor friend, who's essentially her father figure, who's essentially responsible for her resurrection, is the doctor for this champion. And this champion is having these like brain zap kind of neurological issues where all of a sudden he'll just blank out and not know where he is. And he's continuing to play this high stakes life and death game, even though he's having these brain zaps. And he basically is like fatalistic about it. Like, if this is going to happen, it's going to happen, but I'm going to be the champion forever.
And I'm gonna go out like, and then in the last one, it's like I'm gonna do it without the help of the doctor fixing my brain zaps,
Right.
like the real heroic thing. So it's a pretty like standard story type, but yeah, the art is, you could tell like he's just having a blast with this whole thing, and I think that's where he takes off. Um, yeah, but other than that, I don't think there's much worth commenting on. The one thing the other thing I did want to ask you is, do they have these cool little pencils? By the way, one of the
Mhm.
people she hangs out with is obviously Grace Jones. Uh, do you think these pencils are like his sketches, or do you think that that's how he pencils a page and then goes to ink? Because there's these really cool like just little bits thrown in here.
Yeah, that is a really good question. I mean, I think they're thrown in so that the pagination is in the right place. That's the
Yeah.
reasoning for it. I think it depends. Like the one that you were looking at earlier with Grace Jones next to it is definitely like a design drawing. That one looks like it could plausibly be like a pencil.
Yeah,
I because these would have been subject to editorial, uh, you know, back and forth. I'm pretty sure that he would have penciled, uh, at the very least, roughs that would have been photocopied and sent for approval or notes or whatever.
I didn't take the time to go look to see if it like instantiates as a panel later, but there's something about them that is really, really, really rough drawing. But like this one, everything's there that needs to be there,
Yep.
and so I can definitely see this being a finished image. And so I was just curious about that. But I really liked having those in there instead of having like a sketchbook on the back or something. It was nice to
Right.
just get reminded of his abilities every now and then.
Yeah.
Here's another
Right.
Moebius drawing too, this art sculpture. So Moebius to me.
Yeah. This whole section really is works 100% for me. And I think it's a rare person who can invent a game and then describe it compellingly, where you're actually following the game and its rules along.
Yeah, without like, I mean, there is like a couple drawings of what the stadiums look like and whatnot, but
Mhm.
there's not like you ever get a list of like all the rules or something. You kind of figure it out as you go, pretty much. It also helps that there's not many rules. Like they basically just beat the hell out of each other and kill each other, and
Right.
whoever kind of has the ball at the end. And like it doesn't even matter if you have the ball if you kill everybody. So
Right.
it helps that the rules are pretty loosey goosey. But like that's such a cool drawing and such a bit of cool design that yeah, this is like I said, I've only read these two so far. So by far I kind of enjoy the series as this rather than what the first two volumes were.
Mhm.
And I'm curious to see where it goes. It does feel like he's changing his mind a little bit. I don't know, you said he had it all planned out ahead of time, but it
Well,
seems to
I
be like he's
no, I don't think
shifting.
he's planned the series. I didn't mean to imply that. I think that he knew what the backstory was the whole time.
Okay, yeah.
Um, and because when the reveals come, they don't seem shocking. Like for instance, like the little sister of the champion says, "Oh, Ito has the doctor mark." Uh,
Yeah.
so Ito has had this like little crescent moon on his forehead all the time, and you find out that like, oh, that's a citizen of this other place. This is a citizen of the people in the sky. It flows so naturally. That reveal flows so naturally from what's occurring. You would never think that that would be retrofitted onto the existing concept.
Yeah, I agree. His world building's in place, and something that we talk about a lot is he never, and it's the same thing we are just saying about the game. You don't get like 8 pages of how the game is played and all the rules. The characters just go play the game and you figure it out. And his world has that same thing. Like he knows it all, but he doesn't have to give it to us all. Like that
Right.
comes way later, that's a Salem mark.
Right.
I didn't like, a lot of people make the mistake of the first issue. They're like, and the Salem and then the mark, and then it means this, and you're like, fuck, I don't know, man. Like I'm so bored already. So he definitely does it the right way, has it all in place, probably has room to evolve it,
Mhm.
because he didn't lock it in so concrete at the beginning.
Right. And he also has a flair for visual images that stick with you forever. And I could forget the entirety of the plot of the first two, three, 4 volumes, but I'm never going to forget them trying to ascend that giant tube with these blades spinning around, or the essentially like a worm head with a spike on it, captivate, holding people captive by eating their brains. Um, he's got like a real flair for imagery. I don't want to spoil some of the other books, but like I feel like basically I could spoil an entire volume by telling you a single 3-panel scene,
Yeah.
because it all builds up to a certain image. Um,
Well, and like
People have
that
read the whole.
cover.
Was it
I,
like the cover? Yeah,
yeah.
that's a great example. I mean, I think that's probably a massively influential image. I would
Mhm.
not be surprised if that hasn't been spray painted on 17 vans and tattooed onto 50 biceps.
Well, I think that's why I'm familiar with it, is because kids I knew would sit around and draw it or things like it. The mechanical female with the angel wings and like the sexy head. Like I don't even know it was that image, but just people recreating it. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's cool stuff. And I think that's why when they did the movie, they probably did it a little too literally, because I remember some of those images so
Mhm.
directly from the movie. Like putting it into motion, it still maintained like that guy shooting out his 5-finger attack, and like all of the fingers like with their saw blades, and like her in motion going through them. That visual translated in the same kind of like stick in your head brainworm way in a movie, because it's such a good visual. And them running up the tube with the spikes coming down, like translated with the same kind of amount of stick. But like I don't remember much about the movie other than that. I remember it like
Yeah, you can't have it all.
nope, you can't. And you should look it up. Have you not seen it?
No, I haven't seen it at all.
They
No.
like got an actress and then they like digitally like enlarged her eyes, so they're
Oh
like
no.
they look like the Alita manga eyes. They didn't just let her be like a girl. They're like, she has to have manga eyes. So it's like really weird. Look it up, dude. It's really strange. It's very bizarre.
I might just pretend that I've looked it up rather than
Okay,
have to actually subject myself to it.
I'm gonna
No, that
text
sounds
message
interesting.
it.
Yeah. Thank you, Robert Rodriguez and James Cameron.
Yeah, I think so. I
Wow.
know it's
Okay.
Robert Rodriguez and James Cameron. Definitely, they have like a pull quote from him about just a great kick-ass story. That's his pull quote. So yeah, probably him as well.
Well, James, if you want to blurb any other books, let me know. I'd be happy to send you a few.
And if you want to option an Eisner nominated book, we would love to sell you the rights to a Strange Death of Alex Raymond movie. I'm sure Dave would be happy for us to send him his cut of that.
If you guys haven't picked up Strange Death of Alex Raymond yet, please do so, and hope that you guys enjoy it. And also, right now, when we run this video, there should be a Kickstarter up for Plaza by Yokoyama Yuichi, which is a really quite extraordinary book, also very singular and very unique. And I hope that you guys really enjoy that one too. Anything else, Carson?
All I'll say is the Plaza has even more action than Alita.
That's true.
Every panel is like the action of one Alita volume condensed. Each page is a whole volume condensed in terms of intensity. So
you know, it would be a weird thing is if you could get Yokoyama Yuichi to do layouts for an entire volume of Alita, and then it was drawn, you know, by Yukito Kishiro.
oh my God, make it happen. Call him up, since I know you can talk to him. Oh, by the way, like on the Kickstarter, can you talk about like what the specials? Because now I've seen, and it's pretty cool. Like
Yeah.
what's different about what you're offering on the Kickstarter? Because this is going to go to Kickstarter and then to a general release.
Yeah. So the general release, the book is going to be large. You know, it deserves to be large. It's got to, you know, really there's a lot of action happening, and it makes sense to do it at a larger volume size. But the Kickstarter version, you can also purchase a one that's going to have book plates signed and sketched by Mr. Yokoyama, which we were thrilled that he would agree to do this. And so I designed some specialty book plates for him, and they are right now, as we're talking, are winging their way over to Tokyo for him to sign and sketch. And so people will be able to purchase a deluxe version of the book that has a signature and head sketch. I mean, you know, we haven't seen them yet, so we don't know exactly what they're going to look like for sure. But it's going to be exciting, and some other, you know, little knickknacks and doodads to go along with the deluxe edition of the book. And for people who are already fans, which I know there are a lot of them out there, this is a really unique opportunity. It's an unusual thing to be able to, you know, get, you know, signatures and sketches and such from an artist, you know, from across the globe. Like this, and we're really thrilled that he was able to do that and agreed to do that. So,
and there,
now's
like,
the time.
It's not like a sketch that's been turned into a book plate. He's going to do a unique sketch on each book plate, which is insane that he's agreed to do 200 of these. But the dude seems intense, so that's awesome. I hope we get to see some photographs of what some of the people
I'm
sharing
excited.
their sketches, because they're going to be totally wild.
Yeah, it's going to be a grab bag. So we will see how. I'm very excited about it. And there's an interview with him in the book too, which I think gives a real great flavor for what he's like as a person. He's a great interview giver, and really put it all on the line there. So it's a unique view into his process and his thoughts and everything. It's going to be quite the book.
Awesome. I really look forward to
pick it up.
Make sure to like, smash that subscribe button, and ring that bell.